Welcome to our video this afternoon, leveraging your disability to find a job, how to make your blindness or low vision a strength when job searching. This video is brought to you by the National Research and Training Center on Blindness and Low Vision, located at Mississippi State University. My name is Karma Marshall, and I'm the Training and Outreach Coordinator here at the NRTC, and I'm excited to be with you here today. And we're going to have our communications coordinator, Brittany Greer. She'll be moderating our Zoom and our chat. We have three exceptional speakers today. I would like to give a brief introduction of them. The first speaker that we have as part of our presentation is Jonathan Lucus, and he's the Executive Director of NSITE. NSITE provides a continuum of employment services that connect employers with talented and dedicated people who are blind or low vision to employers to help meet their workforce needs. Jonathan has more than 18 years of experience in workforce development, supporting people with disabilities, immigrants, and other underserved populations. Ross Barchacky is the Vice President of Business and Development Partnerships at Inclusively. Inclusively focuses on creating game-changing collaboration in the field of workforce inclusion. By teaming up with outstanding businesses and organizations, Inclusively helps create pathways for talent to access diverse opportunities that allow them to thrive and be their authentic selves in the workplace. Ross is also a U.S. Army veteran. Kristin Smedley is the mom of two blind sons and the best-selling author of Thriving Blind, Stories of Real People Succeeding Without Sight, and Brilliantly Resilient, Reset, Rise, and Reveal Your Brilliance, and a new children's book, What I Can Be Is Up to Me. A recognized expert in the blindness and rare disease communities, Kristin won the highly regarded Champion of Hope Award and was named an ambassador for the National Organization of Rare Disorders. Her TED Talk, book, and international summit changed perceptions of blindness and sparked a global movement, Thriving Blind Academy. So just a couple of things about our goals and objectives for today. What I hope we do is learn about innovative organizations that are leveraging disability as an asset in employment, determine how vocational rehabilitation may support your goals and leverage your disability, reflect on your own perspective about blindness and low vision. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and turn the control back over to Brittany, and we'll see our presentation from Ross and Jonathan.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karma Marshall. I'm part of the NRTC, the National Research and Training Center on Blindness and Low Vision, located at Mississippi State. Today, we're really excited to have two of our presenters with us to join us for our latest consumer webinar, Leveraging Your Disability to Find a Job, How to Make Your Blindness or Low Vision a Strength When Job Seeking. So I'd like to welcome Jonathan Lucus. He's the Executive Director of NSITE, and Ross Barchacky, Vice President of Business Development and Partnership for Inclusively. Thank you both so much for joining us today. You both represent truly innovative organizations, and we're really excited to have you both participating. We do have some planned questions, but welcome any information that either of you think would be helpful to our consumers in their job search. So if you don't have any questions for me, let's just get started.
That's good.
So the first question that I have is if you would please just tell us a little bit about your organization and what you offer to job seekers who are blind or low vision. And I guess we can just start with you, Jonathan.
Absolutely. So we are NSITE, and our goal is to create a very dynamic, robust opportunity for blind professionals to develop their skills through our training programs, and then work with us as we connect them with job opportunities across the United States with our employer partners. We offer over 23 different curriculum courses focused on anything from IT to sourcing to contract management to sales. And we stack these courses so people can come in at whatever level they're in and develop additional skill sets and move up and become highly employable. So our goal is to change this dynamic of, somewhere between 60 and 70% of people who are blind and visually impaired aren't working. And then a subset of that are underemployed. So our goal is to get these folks into careers and upward mobility through this building skill sets and connecting them with the right opportunities that fit their needs.
Perfect. Thank you. And Ross, can you tell us a little bit about Inclusively?
Yeah, sure. So Inclusively takes a little bit of a different approach than many other, I think, disability-focused organizations out there when it comes to employment, in that we focus almost solely on the employer side of the problem set. So we work directly with employers to help them become more inclusive and help them attract, hire, and retain talent from this community. And we do that by essentially having the accommodations process be part of the discussion up front, as opposed to, should I disclose? If so, when should I disclose? And things like that. So specifically for individuals that are blind or have low vision, it can be really beneficial for them to not only be able to have that conversation, but be able to have that conversation with an organization that's being sort of enabled and empowered by a partner like Inclusively, so that they can understand how they can be an ally, so they can understand how they can support these employees in the workplace from day one, as opposed to trying to solve it as those problems arise.
Okay, thank you. And so have your organizations previously worked together to serve a consumer and an employer? Okay.
Definitely.
Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Inclusively really leans heavily on the organizations such as NSITE that are out there and have been doing this work for a lot longer than we have. We're one of the newer players on the field. And so what we really love about our partnerships with organizations like NSITE is that it gives our candidates, our job seekers, an opportunity to really look for those upskilling opportunities or to make themselves more competitive in the workplace. So while Inclusively facilitates a way for them to engage with employers in a meaningful way, it's partners like NSITE that can help get them sort of the ticket that they need to get into the door and have that initial conversation because they can get those wonderful qualifications and skill sets that they need.
Yeah, it's been a really great symbiotic relationship with Inclusively. I think at least by the end of Q3 this year, around 271 individuals from Inclusively have been recommended over to NSITE programs. Now, not all those people matriculate over, but it's a good way, as Ross said, to build their skill sets and going back and working with Inclusively employers. And then subsequently as well, we're sending people over who are completing our training programs to job opportunities that they have. And so, one thing that NSITE we realized very early on is that the best thing to do is become a force multiplier. And so we have about 30 national partnerships with other organizations that support people with disabilities. And by doing that, we're not recreating the wheel, one, but two, we're creating greater opportunity for people.
Fantastic. Well, Jonathan, can you tell us a little bit about how the individual would get engaged working with NSITE? Do you work with the vocational rehabilitation agencies, or how would someone go about engaging with your services?
Yeah, so we take the Ray Kroc approach. Ray Kroc was one of the founders of McDonald's, and he always said it takes about 7 times to sell somebody a cheeseburger. And I've always thought cheeseburgers are pretty daggone good. So if it took him 7, it would take us 17. And so we have a very broad and expansive marketing campaign, target marketing toward this particular group of individuals. But then we also try to find them where they are, right? So we work with VR in about 43 states so far, and we have a really great partnership with these folks, and they refer over a lot of individuals to us because they're looking for innovative solutions, right? How do we train people up? How do we get people into careers versus a job? And our goal is to solve VR's problems and help them move people through the system, creating an opportunity for them as well as for the individual themselves. And so we have a strong partnership there. But again, it's really about this force multiplier effect and how we can create opportunities for people. And so, and what's great, VR covers the cost. So the individual going into our program doesn't have to worry about coming up with the program fees or the curriculum fees.
That was going to be my next question. So it's good to hear that VR will cover the cost and that service for the consumer. That's excellent. Ross, did you have anything to add about how consumers might engage with Inclusively?
Yeah, another way that they can find out about NSITE is, of course, to come to Inclusively, where we have opportunities such as that listed, where, as I mentioned, we partner with organizations to offer things like training programs, apprenticeships, certifications, and things like that to help give yourself a leg up on the competition when they're ready to hit the workforce.
And this is kind of a question for both of you. It's okay, whoever wants to go first. So tell us a little bit, just briefly, about maybe an example of one of the training programs or the curriculum, and about how long does it take? What type of commitment? Is it virtual? How does it work for the individual participating?
I'll let Jonathan take a stab at that.
Yeah.
Since there is
Okay.
programs.
Thanks, Ross. I think it varies, right? So depending on the level of certification you want, we have courses that are asynchronous that maybe, take you a day to get through, to robust CCNA programs that are 40 weeks long, and so, or more. And so we try to offer different packages for people to meet their needs. And, we have multitude of ways. We sort of three buckets that are three legs to the stool of how people connect. We have our NSITE Connect, which is our job board. It's very curated, very small, not nearly as robust as Inclusively's, but the employers we work with are very much collaborative, in a collaborative space with NSITE. Two, we have NSITE U, which is our online learning management system presence. So you go in, it's like you sign up for a course at a university. There's asynchronous courses, there's synchronous courses. Like most people during the pandemic, we went totally virtual, right? And so we're about 98% virtual now. Some of our leadership courses, we're bringing people back in so they can work in teams and so forth. But what we realized is meeting people where they are. Again, if they don't have to travel, if they can use their time wisely, we can develop courses where they're learning outside of the classroom, come into the classroom, do group work, hear from experts, work with our professors, and then go back out there and do homework. And so we have classes running almost every day in some subject matter, and again, majority of those are over Zoom.
Okay, that's good to know. All right. And I know you said you had about 271 individuals. Is that folks who are actually completed the training?
Those are just
went on
from Inclusively. We actually have almost 1,000
wow.
people in training programs this year.
Fantastic.
Almost 300 people have completed some sort of course, and which is, for us, has been almost 500% increase since last year this time. So we're seeing the need, and people are coming. So far in the last 2 years, we've placed over 120 people in professional roles, and so the system is starting to work, but the need, we keep seeing the need grow and expand. So it's been interesting.
Fantastic. Ross, did you have anything you wanted to add about that?
Yeah, I would just say, I'm obviously a huge fan of what our friends over at NSITE are doing. And I think what I love most about the programs that they run is that they're specifically tailored for individuals from this community. And it's not, sort of where it's just regurgitating information that they can find elsewhere. It's specifically tailored to sort of the problems, the issues, and the benefits that they bring to the workplace. And it's one of the reasons that we love having them as a partner here at Inclusively. I think taking that collaborative approach like they do, it's something that's really unique, I think, in the disability sector, as opposed to maybe some of the other initiatives that are out there, where people are looking at it sort of like competitively, are we going to get enough job seekers and stuff like that? Whereas everybody in this community is just willing to figure out, hey, how can we, like Jonathan said, become a force multiplier? How can we work together? How can we add value to the work that's already being done?
Fantastic. So, Ross, I know you work with individuals with disabilities other than blindness and low vision as well, but it sounds like working closely with NSITE, I think you said 271, Jonathan, has just been an incredible opportunity for you guys to collaborate. So I didn't know if you wanted to share anything else about your organization specifically.
Yeah, well, I think on that note, because inclusively is, I guess, what we call disability agnostic, to where anyone that identifies as someone that could benefit from workplace accommodations can come here and benefit. The blind and low vision sector, especially when it comes to employment, I think it probably has more challenges than many other individuals from the community, just because of the amount of barriers that exist, the amount of preconceived notions of what they're able to do and what they're not able to do. And just how difficult, maybe some other things can be, like, for instance, getting a Salesforce certification. For anyone to go there and do that, it's an already arduous and difficult process. But for then someone who has to utilize a screen reader, maybe they're really savvy at a screen reader. They feel that they are, but maybe not in a business sense, maybe not in the platform that they're going to need to access every day. And so I think having a tailored solution like this that actually teaches you the skills you need to operate in the workplace, are just so important.
I agree. Thank you so much. And so on that note, when you talk a little bit about preparing them for employment, I know a lot of the consumers that will be participating in our webinar today are engaged with their vocational rehabilitation agencies. And so I don't know if Jonathan wanted to chime in. Do you give a lot of feedback as far as how the training is going? What is the relationship with VR when they're involved?
We have a very close relationship because it really is dependent on that counselor. They're the key to the success of the long run. And so they're getting feedback from us on a monthly basis for anybody in our programs. And so they're learning about what's working, where the strengths are, where the weaknesses are, and how can we continue the collaboration in other ways to strengthen individuals. So sometimes it may be somebody goes into a course and we realize, well, they need this other training. And being flexible and helping VR be flexible in their approach to ensure somebody actually is able to achieve their goals and to grow is very important to us. And we don't try to go out and sell a particular program where, we really want to ensure the success of the individual. And so we're willing to, change our approach midstream if that's what the counselor deems appropriate.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I like that you said that in case someone might need some additional assistive technology training before participating in your training. That sounds like it works really well to have that communication with their VR counselor. So as the individuals go through the training, what kind of assistance do you provide as far as resume development, job search training, more of those skills as far as actually, kind of closing the deal on locating that employment placement?
We have, again, we try to be very holistic in our approach. So we have a couple of buckets. One is we have to, realize in this day and time, you have to have a strong resume, you have to have a profile. And so what we do is help people develop their marketing schema for themselves, right? How do you talk about yourself? How do you have a resume that reflects your experience and your skill sets? And your lived experience, right? Things that we all intrinsically have learned in our lives that may not have come through a course or a school. We have career coaching, so we use outside experts to help folks develop their schema of what where they want to go, how they want to develop their career in the long term. We also have LinkedIn training because LinkedIn's become such a prolific part of all of our lives as professionals. We noticed that people who are blind and visually impaired were using it less and not understanding the full scope of that capability of that software. So we have experts who train folks in that as well. We have leadership courses. So it's not just about learning a skill set for a career. It's about how do you communicate with your peers, your coworkers? How do you lead someone in a manager role or supervisory role? And then how do you have sort of the executive presence, right? How do you problem solve and use your strengths? And then lastly, we develop mentorships much like Inclusively does. We have something called True Confessions of a Blind Entrepreneur. So we bring in people who have that lived experience of being, this guy happens to be a TV producer, a blind TV producer, believe it or not. And then other folks like him who can say, hey, here's my story. This is what I had to go through. Here are the barriers I had to overcome, and this is how I did it. And so it's inspirational, it's aspirational, and it's maybe some concrete steps people can see they need to take to be successful.
Well, that's fantastic. I love the idea of the mentoring. I think that's a critical aspect that's often overlooked. So it's great to hear y'all do that. Ross, did you want to add anything? Tell us a little bit about what y'all may do, and as far as maybe even as far as how you kind of bridge that gap with the employers.
Yeah, so I'll start on the candidate side. So as I mentioned, we lean pretty heavily on the organizations such as NSITE that are already doing great work in the space, and we're happy to refer our job seekers to them should they need to sort of face those barriers that have existed for them towards employment to get to where they want to be to meet with that employer on a level playing field. But I would say that we are in the process of starting to provide some sort of services ourselves. So for anyone out there that might be familiar with the Social Security Administration's Ticket to Work program, it's essentially anyone who's receiving benefits from the government, whether SSI or SSDI benefits, and is looking to return back to work to gain a little bit more independence financially. That is something that we are going to be able to start assisting with. It's very niche. When you look at the whole of disability employment, but it's the area that we think that we can provide the most value to. So individuals will be able to come to us and get things like one-on-one counseling, and resume writing and job coaching and things like that, specifically for getting back to work and to be able to gain independence from those benefits. But outside of that, I think we're going to continue to leverage partners such as NSITE that are out there and have much more experience and are able to provide a much more robust sort of set of options for these individuals to get back to work.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I think partnerships are great. Why reinvent the wheel when you can work together?
Right.
Thank you so much. Well, I wanted to give both of you the opportunity to individually give us whatever other information you feel would be important for the consumers today to know about your organization. You can give examples of, some successes that you've had. So I just wanted to kind of give you both an opportunity to do that as we kind of wrap up our time today.
Yeah. So I would say there's something that you said at the beginning that I wanted to sort of elaborate on when you talked about sort of the strengths that people with disabilities tend to possess. Because I think when looking at employment, oftentimes as a job seeker, it can be difficult to get past, all the things that I feel like I'm not bringing to the table, and not really ever thinking of how can I spin this as a positive? What positive characteristics and attributes has this life, these lived experiences given me? I think things like problem solving, especially when we talk about individuals that are blind or from the low vision community, you've been navigating and problem solving to do every single thing, for your whole life, because the world is not created for you. And so adaptive problem solver right there is something that should definitely be on your resume, or the ability to overcome adversity. There's just so many things that I think if you take it and try and spin the problem set on its head, you can actually think of the assets that you can bring to the organization. So when you're looking at all these upskilling opportunities and things to try and bridge the gap or to try and meet the employer where they are, just remember that there's a lot of things that you're probably not even realizing that you're bringing to the table. So if you haven't already, I would definitely suggest making some time, whether you're a job seeker or, maybe someone who's a first line, support giver to these individuals, or career counselors or job coach or something like that, and take the time to learn a little bit more about this concept of disability as an asset, and sort of what they can bring to the table.
Thank you. Thank you for circling back to that, because that is definitely true. Adaptability, problem solving, certainly strengths that we do see. Jonathan?
Yeah, I think well said, Ross. I think, very much the same, right? So a couple of things. One is we tried, when working with employers, we look at it as trying to solve a business issue and not a social issue, right? Because if we approach it as, hey, you need to understand diverse workforces, especially workforces that have diversity amongst the senior ranks, are 30% more profitable than companies who aren't. And so if you take that as the first sort of factoid, then you realize, how do you get that diversity, right? And so It's about understanding that it's very easy to bring people on board. We work with some of the top pharmaceutical, banking, insurance companies in the world. And it's about, we're not changing your process, we're adding to it. And we're going to make this very easy for you to bring people on. But you need to understand how somebody's lived experience can be transformational for your teams and for your organization. And for the individual, I tell my staff all the time, your most important job, I don't care what your title is or your role or your job description says, your most important job is to be an ambassador of hope for people. Because I think all of us are preconditioned as we grow up and become adults to sort of give up your daydreams and do what's practical, right? And definitely folks who are blind and visually impaired have been told to do the practical thing, right? You're going to get on SSDI, you're going to go and get a part-time job. That's not what people want to live for, right? They want to have the same dreams you or I have. And so our goal is to facilitate that and say, forget being practical. Let's stretch. Let's see what you can do. We believe in you, and we're going to make the path for you. And we believe in you. And so that's if we're able to show that and be, that's in our presence and that's in our being, and we're authentic about this, then employers pick up on that and they say, yeah, this is great for a multitude of reasons.
Absolutely, that's great. I really appreciate those thoughts. Like I said, you both have such innovative organizations. So great to have y'all here today. Really appreciate your insight and everything you bring. And hopefully we'll have some questions from some of our participants, and you all will be able to be present at the webinar and answer those questions. Anything else that you'd like to share with us as we close out?
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. It's great, to share our stories, and it's great that the two organizations are partners, right? So this is not just two entities saying this is what we do. This is how, say we recognize each other's strengths and appreciate what we're doing in the space, and that together our outcome can be stronger. So thank you for giving us this place to do that.
Likewise. Well said.
Well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate y'all joining us here, and NRTC thanks you both as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Jonathan and Ross. We do really appreciate y'all pre-recording that. I know we were great that we could have y'all here for some question to answer. And I know folks are filling up the chat. And again, we will try to get to those questions at the end. And I know some folks are providing some answers in the chat. So if everyone would just kind of keep an eye on that. But right now, I would like to welcome Kristin Smedley and turn the floor over to her and have her present for us as well. Thank you so much, Kristin.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. And what a cool gig to follow Ross and Jonathan, because what I'm loving about this world these days, all of us here in this Zoom room, whether you consider yourself lucky today or not, all of us are incredibly lucky that this world, the tides are turning. I was just posting all this stuff on social media that change is happening. Change is here. The world is looking at things differently. I mean, we've had things upside down and inside out the past couple of years, right? Now's the time. You guys are a lucky group of people to be heading out there now at this point in time when people are ready to hear things differently. So let me set the stage for you. I'm gonna kind of back up a little bit from where Ross and Jonathan were just diving into, because I want to speak for a hot minute to folks that I saw a lot of people in the chat. You're jumping in. I need the Inclusively website. I'm ready for this. And how do I get that training program? And do you have JAWS and all that great stuff? I want to speak for just a quick second in the beginning of this to the folks that aren't quite ready to jump into that chat yet. You don't necessarily aren't right there. Like, I can get out there and do this. I heard Jonathan say, we believe in you. And I'm 100%, we believe in everyone that is in this room. I want to talk about the impact and the necessity of believing in yourself, and how we get to the point of believing in ourselves, especially here at Thriving Blind Academy. It's what we foster. It's where we begin. It's where we see progress stem from. It's a foundational principle for those. If you're watching people jump into that chat saying, I'm ready for all this, and you're not ready, They might be a half a step ahead of you. That's all right. We're all going to catch up. We are all going to, and then guess what happens? Sometimes, especially those of you that are experiencing vision loss, and then it, plateaus, and then you might have another drop in vision, and you got to go through this all over again. So it's a nice refresher too for all of you that are on this journey at different points. One thing I'd like for you to do is, for everybody that's listening and tuning in, is to come into this with a mindset that I like to call SEE, S-E-E, to see a different point of view here. And the way I spell out SEE is set extraordinary expectations, S-E-E. This is what I've learned in raising two incredibly successful, fun, thriving, and a little bit disorganized sons that are out there in the world doing great things. I realized that with my boys and with the thousands of people that I have met that are blind or low vision and going after their dreams and designing the lives that they want, not that the world says that they should have, but that they want, I realized that they did the same thing. They set extraordinary expectations for their journey. Now, let's focus in on the word extraordinary. I am not a fan of the folks that say, "Oh, a blind person going to work is amazing. That's extraordinary. That's wonderful." No, it just is what it is, right? I'm not into all of that kind of lingo. I'm of the definition of extraordinary, of outside of what is ordinary, remarkable, different, not what people expect. Let's get real honest for a second here. Most of the stories of blindness that you all have heard, that I have heard, that have been portrayed in movies and films and stuff until very recently, they're stories of loss, of sad, of all of the more negative emotions. So I said to my boys early on, we're going to go outside of what people normally expect. We're going to be remarkable. We're going to do things differently. We're not going to follow the ordinary path. Now, I will say in the very beginning, when my oldest son, Michael, is now 23 and has a very successful career with Disney Corporation. But back when he was in kindergarten, I mean, the world and the school and the teachers said to me, if he achieves at 70%, that is pretty darn good. And I was like, that's not the extraordinary life that we're going to have. That's not the journey we're going to have. We're going to go outside your ordinary expectations. It was a little tricky here and there. You all know that. I don't have to tell you that. The barriers. I mean, Ross was talking about the different things and lived experience and the strength that you develop because of that. I know I don't have to sell that concept to this group, but I do want all of us in this room today and people that are watching this later to be considering things in an extraordinary mindset, outside of what is ordinary. I understand that the world ordinarily says, part-time job, or, state job that's under contract, that'll be great for you. That's not what I'm hearing or seeing in this chat today. So I'm happy to be in with this specific group today. We're going to talk about setting extraordinary expectations. The first way that I realized, and when I did a lot of research on this over the course of my career here and 23 years of raising children that are blind to be successful and thriving, and what is at the heart of Thriving Blind Academy's programs, is looking at blindness, low vision, disability. Most of the world looks at the loss, and maybe some of you are still in that camp too, looking at the loss as opposed to the gains. Looking at the loss as opposed to the gains. My family and I've said I've met tens of thousands of people in the blind and visually impaired community, and I can tell you that the hundreds in that group, including my sons, are focusing on the gains, just like Jonathan and Ross each pointed out, the strengths, the lived experience that you've had that have caused you to have unique ability in the disability. I want all of you that are working in this community for, having in Voc rehab and employment programs and all. Everyone, all of us on the same page of looking at gain, not loss. Now, I will say when my Michael was born, I was in the loss story, in the loss version, focusing on all the things he wasn't going to be able to do, and finally had a mindset reset into all of the gains. And, I was going to, as I was introduced, I have written 3 books. So I was going to put it into an author's type of thing to say this old story of blindness, right? The old story of loss. But then for those that can't access the screen visually, behind Ross, the office he was sitting in as he was giving all that great information, there's all these guitars hanging. Like, it's very much a music vibe. And I have a feeling that that's probably a common theme with this entire group and hundreds of people, that we all have music in common. So I'm going to switch my example here and say, let's think about this like a playlist. And if you want to drop in the chat what song is on your playlist that is just your go-to song to get out there and have a great vibe going and really like get you moving when maybe you're in a bad mood, you got to shake it off. If you want to drop into the chat that playlist, that song that's on your playlist is great. Those are the, we've all got these songs that are on our playlist that really get us going. And then there's those songs on lists that just bring you down, right? I mean, there are songs I'm like, why is this even? Oh, somebody just typed in Rise Up. I love that song. So I want you to think about this in terms of building your playlist that pumps you up. I know we always talk about like what tools are in your toolbox. I'm a little more wild than tools in the toolbox, right? What are you putting on your playlist that is building you up and putting you on the path to the life you really want, or supporting the people on the path that they should be on and going after their dreams? Not the old playlist of stuff that brings you down. What are the old, or the playlist that we do not want to listen to or build anymore? That sounds like the world owes me. I lost my vision, so the world owes me things now. No, that's on an old playlist that's bringing us down. I can't achieve because of this blindness, or my vision just keeps declining and I can't achieve the things I want to achieve. Nope, sorry. There's a little bit of tough love here today, a little bit of tough love with a big smile on my face. That is on the old playlist. How about this one? This is a tune that I'll bet you most of us have sung every now and again. Blindness sucks. Well, there are times when all things, it doesn't matter what you got going on. Some days are just worse than others, but that's the downer playlist. What does the playlist that we want guiding our lives sound like? It sounds like what Ross was talking about. What are the strengths that you've developed? And you can put it in the chat if you can access the chat, or just think about what are some things that you are really strong at. Some of us are really strong at talking and communicating and getting the word out in the world, right? My daughter, I have a sighted daughter that is she is such an incredible observer. She doesn't say much, but she can observe and take information in and communicate it well. So what are your strengths that you want to load that playlist with, the things that you're really good at, the talents? What would people say if you went to your 3 closest friends or family members? And what do you think about when you think of me in terms of strengths? Because a lot of times, let's face it, we don't know what we're really good at. We are all down on ourselves, right? What would somebody else say? What do people come to you and say, can I pick your brain on this because you're really good at that? What are strengths? Talents. Ross was talking about the unique things because of your lived experience, problem solving. And my boys have developed an incredible sense of humor, because believe me, being blind since birth, they have come up against some interesting characters, and they've developed a great sense of humor. Now, my daughter, who's the youngest, will debate whether my middle son is funny or not, but whatever. And none of them think I'm funny, so that won't be on my playlist. But let's build a playlist of all the strengths. And that's what I want you to go to when you're thinking, getting stuck in that, this stinks, or, here's another barrier, because I know that you all will agree there's barriers after barriers after barriers. In a world not built for blindness, there is stuff that we have to constantly work out. However, if you look at it as that is actually a gain, when you are practicing Resilience. My oldest son, Michael, can't stand the word resilience because I'm telling you, after COVID, and everyone was like, the world needs to be resilient. And look, I have a podcast called Brilliantly Resilient. Michael's like, I am resilient 97 times a day because of all you people that get in my way and you can't make things accessible and all the things. It is a mindset shift. It is a mindset of asset, a mindset of gain, a mindset of thriving. And that is where we begin every program, every mentorship call. The through line of everything at Thriving Blind Academy is a thriving mindset, gain versus loss. We honor the fact that there are days when it is just, we kind of get a little bit stuck in the loss side of things. And that's why somebody mentioned earlier about mentorship. That's why we have mentorship programs to make sure that we stay in check with this type of mindset. Now, let me tell you, because there's probably some of you thinking, okay, that sounds great, but you don't have my life. I'm trying to figure out how to get through Voc Rehab, get this training, this piece of assistive technology. There's just too many things. I don't know if you know, you got to look him up. Maybe somebody can type it in the chat for me because I can't type and talk at the same time. Clark Reynolds. Clark Reynolds is now an incredibly famous artist in London, in the United Kingdom, or London area. And Clark came to my partner in Thriving Blind Academy, Charlie Collins, and I, about 2 years ago through our first Succeed Without Sight Summit. We did this big online virtual summit, just all stories of success to keep the mindset going. Oh, somebody typed it in there. Thank you in the chat. To keep an open mindset of gain and assets, right? And thriving. And Clark said to this, it was hundreds of people from 27 countries. And Clark said, I want to be an artist. I've wanted to do this my whole life. And my vision keeps declining. And everyone over here in the UK is saying, you can't possibly be an artist when you're blind. Now, Clark believed in himself, which is a huge principle that we teach all the time, because it is a challenge for a lot of us to continue to believe in ourselves. Clark already had that. He believed it was possible, but literally his entire world was telling him it was impossible. Now, let me tell you this. Not only did Clark want to be a blind artist, which everybody was like, that's not going to work. He wanted his art to center around Braille and be touchable and educate people about Braille. And I got to tell you, and Charlie will attest to it. I was like, okay, Clark, like you're killing me here. Now it's like everyone's against blind artists. Now you're throwing Braille in there. People don't understand Braille. We can't even get the schools to give the kids Braille that need Braille. And you're going to put it in your art. So Clark said, I believe it's possible. I just don't know how to tell the world. So we developed this pilot program called Thriving Blind in Business, where we worked with a few folks, and Clark was in that group, to say, okay, what is it? The same thing I was just talking about. What are all the gains? What are all your strengths? Let's load that playlist with all the good things. And what is it you want to do in the world? And Clark was one of our folks that walked through the program with us, and we did the whole, what is it that you want to do? What tools do you need to access? What resources? And Clark, little by little, just started getting out there with the stuff that we taught in the program. And within a year and a half, he started getting connected to museums and really getting clear on the message he wanted to put in the world. And then he came back to us and he said, I'm ready. I got all this going. I'm listening to everything that you say and I'm trying to get out there, but the museums aren't ready for me. And the art world isn't ready for me. They don't want to hear it. I call them and they say, no, or he was sending emails and no, he's getting no's all over the place. And my partner, Charlie, said, well, why not go about it differently? Why not call them up so they can feel your vibe and get to know your personality, and then they'll forget all about blindness because you're so passionate. That's your thing. And Clark said, but that's not how the art world does it. And Charlie said to him, be extraordinary. Do it different. Don't be ordinary with the way you're going about this. You're going to get the same results if you're going to keep doing that the same way. And I got to tell you, it makes me, I am like smiling ear to ear when I say Clark's name now, because Clark took that advice And we walked him through, what are the things they're going to say? What are the no's? How can you convince them? And how can you really use he's got a superpower of energy and excitement. He employed all of that. And just this past spring, he was getting an award from the Queen. He is so in demand and successful as an artist now. They're making short films about him and his career and his energy. And he is literally living the life of his dreams. He believed in himself, but the world didn't. And we walked him through how to just continue down that path and keep playing that playlist of all of the gains, right? And ditch the playlist of the loss. And he was stepping into that and communicating in a whole new way. I'll tell you, let me check the times. I know we started a little bit late. I'm going to tell you one more quick story because I know that seems like, whoa, and that's entrepreneurship. That's not going into a corporate interview and figuring all that kind of stuff out, right? It's a little bit different. Well, my son, Mitch, who is now a junior in college, he was coming home for the summer and wanted a summer job. And I'm from the Northeast. I'm a Philly girl, if you haven't figured that out yet with the way that I talk, and my hands probably hit the microphone a few times. Here in our area, we have this phenomenal place called Wawa. It is like a 7-Eleven, you probably all know, and Sheetz is a big thing. Convenience store that's really, really cool. And Mitch loves Wawa, and he wanted to have a summer job at Wawa. So he went, he interviewed, and we coached him on interviewing. We have a whole interview program at Thriving Blind Academy. And in case I forget, thrivingblindacademy.org/interview. You can get on our wait list for that and all the other workforce programs that are coming. Okay, so Mitch goes into the interview and he's talking about his strengths and what he wants to do. And he's working with the manager of the area. And then the manager comes back and says, you know what? I don't know how to make this work. And Mitch says, well, he said, how are you going to move around? And Mitchell's answering all these questions. Mitchell goes, well, you get an accessible cash register. Like, it's the law. Not a lie, right? So we bring him into a call with my partner, Charlie. And Charlie starts asking him, and this is how we do things at the Academy. And this is what I want you to be thinking about as you're out there in the world and deciding what path you want to take. And when you're on inclusively and putting in there the jobs that you're looking at, Charlie says to Mitch, why Wawa? Mitchell's like, it's cool. I like the pretzels there and it's a cool place. It'd be a cool job. And Charlie's like, really? You're going to fight them half the summer to get an accessible register. You're going to go down a path of threatening a lawsuit. You're going to do all these things of what the law is and everything. He's like, is that really how you want to spend your summer? Is that really the job that is going to work well for you and bring out everything you bring to the world? Now, I should tell you that Mitchell is a incredibly successful radio show host. He's got a sports talk show. He's got a country music show. He started that at his college and he ranked right up to the top as soon as he started. He's very talented. He does the sideline interviews at the baseball games and the football games in college. He has a personality. And Charlie says to him, why are you just hell-bent on this job that requires none of your personality? You have so much more to offer the world. So Mitchell said, okay. He did a presentation in my town that was absolutely extraordinary for our new short film that came out. And people were all coming to him. The township wanted to hire him and they couldn't figure out. They just wanted him on their payroll somewhere to enhance their programs because he is such a personality and so fun. And he went to the interview with the township manager and an elected official. And they started talking about the Golf Pro shop and getting an accessible cash register. And Mitch said to them, you can get an accessible cash register. I can tell you how to do that. And I can stand there and do the transactions of the golfers and maybe talk to a few of them. But let me tell you a little bit about my strengths. Let me tell you about my talents and what I'm currently doing on my college campus. And let's see if there's a different place that my talents and what I have to offer the world can benefit this organization. They were blown away. Here's the thing. And Mitchell ended up in this really cool job of playing music for the Friday night crowd. And then people all over town have been stopping me that he just made their summer on Friday and Saturday nights with the fun stuff he was doing, filling in for birthday party DJs, all kinds of, and he had the time of his life doing that. The thing is, for so long, and believe me, I get this because my older son, Michael, went through this with not getting hired with stuff. And I don't have time to go into my story about him. But for so long, I believe this community has been listening to that playlist, that old story of this is enough for you. 70% is enough for you. This whole part-time job with a little bit of income and some additional help from us, that's enough for you. And I know that so many of you are like, I want more than that. I want more than that. I want to design the life that I want, not what the world is telling me. I also know that doing it alone is nearly impossible, if not completely impossible. And it's a heck of a lot more fun doing it with others that are like-minded, that are there to cheer you on and also to give you the wake-up call like Charlie did for my Mitchell, right? So, at the Academy, we are the step before you even want to think about inclusively or the other NSITE and the other folks that are out there. We're the ones that you come through and we transform the thoughts that you're thinking, right? We transform where you are to where you want to go. We don't do all of the JAWS, things and assistive tech. We direct you to partners because, you need some serious tools for the serious work you're going to do, right? We direct you to our partners for that. But here in the Academy, it's let's get a mindset of asset. Let's be looking at things as a gain. So when you go into those job interviews, you are thinking with that playlist of empowerment. And let me tell you how I can enhance your company. And you're not going to want to say no to me because your company's not going to have a better bottom line. Those are the kinds of things we do here in the Academy. And I am so happy to see, I was seeing some of the folks that have come into this Zoom room, plus the folks that I was able to present with and the folks that invited me to do this, because this is the new playlist. It's a big one that's happening in the world right now. Like I said in the beginning, all of us are lucky to be in this room with this group of people and ready to move forward in a new way, living the lives that we want to live, not what the world is telling us to live. So make sure you check out thrivingblindacademy.org to come into our community, or even just check out the community, or thrivingblindacademy.org/interview to get into the workforce side of this, to get everybody ready for those incredible resources of insight and inclusively.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. I love the idea of the playlist of strength. And thank you for kind of connecting back. Before we go to questions, I did want to see if Jonathan or Ross might want to comment on your presentation or add anything to it. I know we got a lot of folks here, but certainly give them the opportunity since their presentation was recorded.
Yeah, I mean, that needs no explanation or anything put further on it. Kristin, you did a wonderful job sort of highlighting really that groundwork, like you said, that has to happen inside of us before you can take that next step. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Hey, thanks for having the guitars behind you. We're a music family in this house. I was like, oh boys.
All day, every day.
Thank you, Ross.
Yeah, I mean, I just echo Ross. I mean, I think, this sense of positivity, and I agree with Kristin, the world has changed. We were forced to change during the pandemic. And I think, my experience has been corporations are more open now than they've ever been. And that's maybe not far enough, but they are starting to see the return on investment from a business perspective. And, I think, following Kristin's wise words of wisdom here to really go out there, be extraordinary, connect, there's simple things of networking, letting yourself be known are transformative. And so nothing more to really say.
Thank you so much. all of y'all so much. We really appreciate y'all coming today. We do have a lot of folks. I think a lot of the questions in the chat have actually been answered, and I appreciate everybody kind of jumping in and supporting each other, and some of our folks giving some answers, some of our presenters as well. I'll just kind of go with it. One of the things is the NSITE services, online courses, free, how do you pay? Jonathan, would you like to kind of address that a little bit? I know you talked about a little bit of maybe work with their VR counselor, but I'll let you kind of field that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So the great thing about our initiatives, they are all free of charge to consumers. We work closely with VR. We're now a Ticket to Work vendor. We are, supported in other financial ways through corporate partnerships and whatnot. But the goal, come by, NSITE is NSITE. It's a little differently spelled than you would think, but go check out our website. We've got a job board, NSITE Connect, and we have over 500 people on that job board who are looking for work and applying for real jobs for real employers that we're working alongside. Our training programs run the gamut from developing your leadership skills to having a presence on LinkedIn and understanding how to promote yourself through your resume and your experiences, to real certifications from places like Cisco and Microsoft. And, we have everything from sales to, you want to be in HR and learn how to be a recruiter. We're 21st century courses for 21st century jobs and professional fields, and no limits, no barriers, the way we look at it. So visit nsite.org and, connect with us. We'll return your response really quickly and get you registered for courses coming up in FY24 here in the fall.
Okay, so we have a question. How can I get my vocational counselor to get me more involved with some of the programs to help me prepare and find and keep a job? Great question, Cynthia. I don't know if that's for a particular presenter or if that's just something that you were hoping that someone could answer. I would certainly encourage you to definitely have that discussion. If your counselor hasn't heard of these organizations, it might be a great idea for you to do that. Kristin, did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, definitely the vocational rehab counselors are an incredible resource, right? But I would look at it as just one element in that toolbox on that playlist. And in the academy, if you look up the Success Principles book, that's what our whole thing is built on. Jack Canfield Success Principles are everything. The foundation is 100% responsibility. So what are the other, you got 3 great resources here today that you can add to that list of going and checking out the websites to empower yourself and really take responsibility to build a team. And let's face it, in this community right now, even though the tides are turning and the change is here, right? It still takes effort. It still takes building a team around you to have multiple resources that you can take responsibility to align and go after those things you want.
Great point. Absolutely. I think Mr. Aponte, did you have a question? Did you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, I just wanted to say real quick about NSITE. I'm a voc rehab counselor in Kentucky, and I've had nothing but a positive experience with everyone I've dealt with. Troy Collette and Marianne, they've worked hard to get my consumers into programs, and they love the online program that they're able to take, and it's been a great experience. So I think the only issue is the counselor has to make sure that NSITE is a vendor in their state. I know they're working on it in Kentucky, so that way I can send more people that way and get training. And Ross, Hua.
Jose, that's a great plug, but we've enjoyed working with your team and excited about the folks that you're sending over, and that's sort of it. And we are in 43 states right now, and we're have that presence because we try to build a mutual relationship with these VR offices. They got big caseloads, they've got a lot of work, and it's about helping them understand what we're trying to do and how it fits into their schemas. And each state's different, and each state operates differently, but we all have the same goal. And so it's great to work with great people like Jose to turn these opportunities into reality. So thank you.
You're very welcome, and I greatly appreciate NSITE working with us more opportunities, just another quiver, an arrow in the quiver. So the more the better. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing from an actual, experienced VR counselor. That's great that you're here today and we're able to share that with the other folks here. I appreciate that. All right. Any final questions? I think there was one. Are any of the programs in Central PA? I guess that might be for Jonathan. I don't know if you all are a vendor in Pennsylvania. You may know that or not. Florida.
Yeah, we are in Pennsylvania. So that was took a while, but that we've been there for about a year now. So please connect with me and we can talk about what your needs are.
Okay. And then Kristin, I think someone's asked about your books, where they might be available.
Yeah, Thriving Blind is on Amazon. It's paperback and it's on Kindle. So if you have the accessibility features Kindle, hey, you guys are first to hear about this. The audiobook for Thriving Blind is coming out in about 6 weeks. My son Mitch is the narrator of all the stories with the guys, and I'm narrator of all the stories with the women. So don't tell anybody. That's a big secret. You guys know it. What I Can Be Is Up to Me is the children's book. That's at whaticanbeisuptome.com. It's actually printed only in Braille and print in one book. Features all blind characters that are real people. So if you're looking for something, if you've got young kids, or if you're a Braille reader and want to read a book to your young kids that are sighted, everybody can enjoy this one.
Great. That's really exciting. Thanks for letting us know about that.
I did want to mention, I don't think I did, Inclusively is a nationwide organization. So we definitely operate in all states, but because we partner with organizations like NSITE all across the country, the offerings are really going to be dependent on them. So I would encourage everyone, it's free to create a profile, www.inclusively.com. And you can go on there and you can search for programs that are available in your area. And then it will also add you to the newsletter because we're adding new programs and partners all the time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ross. I appreciate that. And I know a lot of people are still asking about their states. One of the things I would say, and I'm going to go out on a limb, I think you could probably just check their website out. And I think to Jose's point, you're more than likely, if they're not a vendor in your state and they can be one, you can probably get them set up and add to Jonathan's number of states that they're involved with. So I think that might be something to look into too. So finally, I just want to take a minute and thank our presenters so much. Thank you, Roth and Jonathan, for pre-recording and being here today for the questions and then jumping in here to help out too. And Kristin, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you here and hear your really encouraging presentation for our consumers and to kind of tie these organizations together. The NRTC really appreciates you all joining us, and thank you to our presenters again.